Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Edge. The real estate market's constantly changing. New fads, growing and expanding locations, shift from urban to the suburbs and then back again. Real estate may well be one of the most challenging yet rewarding professions one can choose. With us today, Foote Real Estate Group and Signature Real Estate Utah. Troy, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
When did you become a realtor?
2018, so I'm still fairly new into the business. But
And what was the attraction? What prompted you to?
I've kind of always had a little bit of a love affair with real estate, I guess. Even prior to getting into it, I was just always intrigued by it, I guess, and like real estate, construction. Kind of dabbled in flipping houses and stuff before I actually went into it full time.
What actually did you do? What was your background?
So I was actually an Arby's franchisee with two other partners for about 26 years.
Really?
And we had a franchisee that just kept knocking on our door till we decided it was time to sell. And just because of that, that's kind of what pushed me into real estate full time. So,
But do you have an area of interest or specialization in your practice?
A little, I guess. We do a little bit of all of it, but definitely like the listing side of things a bit, and then dealing with a lot of new construction as well.
I see. And now is that only here in Salt Lake, or do you expanded into?
I actually do a lot of work down in St. George and Cedar City as well. So
That's new development generally?
yeah, new construction.
In general, would you say that real estate is highly competitive in today's market?
Definitely super competitive these days. With the craziness in the housing industry right now and shortage of homes and I guess just new people jumping into the market because they see it going so crazy. But that's a good thing and a bad thing. There's just not a lot of inventory for everyone either. So
Sure.
It gets a little tougher for someone just jumping in too, I think,
So I suspect if inventory is low, that means new houses are probably selling as fast or faster than you can build them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The home builders can't keep up with the demand right now.
Talking about the market and becoming a realtor, are there certain characteristics or personality traits that make for a good real estate agent?
I think so, yeah. Obviously you got to have great communication skills, be able to talk to people, kind of. Also good listening skills to make sure you can find out what they're looking for, and customer service. I mean, that's kind of a crazy thing in this industry. You'd think there'd be a lot of it, but sometimes it's lacking. Coming from the restaurant industry, I guess, where everything's kind of based around customer service. To the real estate industry where, it seems like some people are really good at it and other people aren't.
Sure.
So.
In effect, a realtor is self-employed. Does that require a great deal of self-discipline to get up and get to the office and start making calls?
Absolutely. You are essentially running your own business, even though, everyone's, for the most part, brokered underneath someone.
Sure.
You're a 1099 employee and you got to get up and make stuff happen or it's not going to.
In that regard, what would you say is a real estate agent's most valuable asset?
As far as
your personal asset, is it time? Is it knowledge? Is it experience?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. Time is definitely, there's only so many hours in a day, so
Indeed.
You definitely got to be good at time management, and you're essentially, like you said, your own business. So you got to find time to not only help clients, but market and everything else that comes along with
the
it.
ancillary processes involved. I've read the phrase, you're not selling a house, you're selling a story. What does that mean?
Well, I think a house plays such a huge part in people's lives as they're growing up, especially when they got kids or whatnot. I mean, you think you're seeing them grow up.
Sure.
Whether it's school dances, birthdays, holidays, barbecues, whatever, it just seems like so much of your life is based around the home that you live in.
I have heard that the market is so challenged today that many buyers are writing letters, sharing their experiences and background. Is that common, and does that add value in terms of maybe the seller being somewhat receptive to a particular potential buyer?
Uh, you see it a little bit. Definitely people try and sell the story. You know, the board thinks there might be some conflicts there, so we usually try and stay away from it. But yes,
Sure.
I have seen people write letters, and I've seen it actually affect decisions. But
On a positive
on a positive
sense?
note, yeah, I mean, in most cases, I don't think it does too much. I mean, someone selling's obviously looking for their best offer they can get out of their home,
Sure.
and sometimes you might be able to play on the heartstrings a little bit, but I think overall, they're looking to do what's best for them.
In general, would you say that most buyers become too personally attached, uh, such as the seller becoming personally attached and maybe having an over optimistic opinion of value? Does that same level of commitment apply to the potential buyer? Do they get too emotionally attached to a
The home buying and selling process is definitely a very emotional, thing for people. So, um, I think a lot of buyers do. They walk in and fall in love with the house, and that's the
sure,
one they want, and they try and do whatever they can to secure that. You definitely got a handful that understand that the market's kind of crazy, and they may miss out on quite a few.
sure. Well, from the seller's perspective, does that personal attachment work against them? Are they overly optimistic about value and potential changes that may occur to this house in the future?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that as well. I mean, obviously it's kind of a crazy market, so things are bringing a little bit more than what they were even a couple years ago.
Indeed.
Um, but obviously they're the ones that have the story in the house, and
Of course.
so that probably brings more value to them, or thinking it's worth more, when they go to sell it as well.
Sure.
And there probably are a handful of people that know that they're going to get remodeled or whatever after, and might not, you know, like that either. I don't know. Feel like that
Yes.
some of their memories are maybe going away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's certainly not only an expensive process, but it's a personal one. I certainly understand that. Kind of changing gears for a moment. Once an agent, potential agent, finishes school, passes the state test, then they start looking around for a broker to affiliate with. What advice would you give a new agent in terms of selecting that first broker?
I think you need to go interview with multiple brokers and kind of find one that fits your personality and what you're looking to do in the real estate industry. Um, I think there's great ones that work more off of a percentage type thing, and really like people to come in and maybe join teams, which is not necessarily a bad thing when you're just
Hmm.
getting into the real estate business, because it teaches you a lot. Unfortunately, when you go to real estate school, they teach you the laws to
Sure.
that you have to know to be able to sell real estate. Unfortunately, they don't teach you how to sell real estate, and I think that's where it's good to get in with a good broker that does a lot of training and like I said, kind of fit your personality and what
Of
you're looking to
course.
do. I mean, there's some great brokers out there that just charge you a transaction fee. You're a little bit more on your own probably in that case versus going to maybe one of the national brokers where they put you on a team and you get a little more support,
Hmm.
and accountability, because that team kind of keeps you on task versus you go to one of these others and it's just you and you got to kind of
Sure.
you know work your way through.
For a new broker, would you say that a national brokerage provides more training and education during the early years of developing your practice?
Um, Probably a little bit. I mean, there's certainly some out there that are transaction based that have some good training programs as you come in,
Hmm.
but it does seem like the national brokers probably bring people in and help train them and put them on teams and
Sure.
stuff. So
Is it more of a
certainly a young
structured
a young person
environment?
coming in, that probably doesn't know a whole lot of people or a lot about the industry, it's probably good for them to
There's
get
some
on some type
benefits
of a
to that.
team.
Sure. What would you say is the hardest part about being a successful real estate agent?
Well, it's definitely very time consuming. Obviously, there's some freedoms with it as well because you are essentially your own boss. But I mean, you also
Kind of
got to
getting
be able to
back to the
have,
discipline issue.
yeah, it comes back to the discipline and making sure you're putting in the time and doing what you need to do to make sure you're making the right contacts and in a good position to be successful.
I've read that even though you've been in the industry a few years, that you have been the recipient of a number of awards. The most recent is the Salt Lake Board of Realtors 2021 Realtor 500 for outstanding service contributions to the industry, and I know there have been others. How does that come about? What do you do different?
Um, I guess it's just a lot of hard work and try to take care of people. I mean, I'm definitely very honored and blessed to have received that award, but it also I got to thank a lot of people behind me as well. Whether it's people on my team that work with me at Signature, or if it's my friends, family, clients that have given me the opportunity to help them. Buy, sell, invest, whatever they're looking to do in real estate.
How do you find your next customer?
It's tricky. You're definitely always out there promoting yourself, which is not typically my makeup, I guess. But in real estate, you got to do it because that's you're the one going to make it happen or not.
Indeed. At the end of the day, it's what you've done with your time that day, and
Oh,
to
absolutely, yeah, and
prepare for the next.
it's networking. It's contacts with people. I mean, fortunately for my previous life in the restaurant business, I met a lot of people as well. So,
Hmm.
it's been good to be able to have them kind of see me in my new role and still trust me to take care of them.
Sure. You mentioned networking. How important is that?
I think it's very important, especially for people that might not know a lot of people.
Hmm.
It's a good way to get your name out there and get people to kind of know your personality and see if it fits.
You put together at some point your own team of realtors, thus the Troy Foote Real Estate Group. How does that work? What are the benefits to
I,
that?
I think a lot of it's kind of like you're saying, it's time management. I'm only one person, so I can't do it all. So bringing people in to help with some of that. I have an agent that works with me that he primarily focuses on the buyer side of things. So
I
it
see.
helps me go find clients for the listing side of things, and I do a little bit of development as well. So just a lot of time management. Having a transaction coordinator as you start getting busier is nice to help keep all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff in
Sure.
order as well.
So, in effect, are you the broker to these individuals?
So I am currently not a broker. I
Okay.
will probably end up getting my broker license, but I am just right now just a real estate agent, and I'm brokered under Signature Real Estate.
But yet you have your own team that
But
you
yeah,
manage
I have a team
and
that I
direct.
manage.
Is that a path or a process that you would recommend to
I
some
think
or most agents?
well, and I think as people get into it, it's where it is so I don't know. I guess just a part where you are kind of alone. I guess
Hmm.
So getting a little more support and being able to lean on people and stuff like that, I think, is a good thing as well.
Indeed, it gives you an opportunity to leverage yourself and your time.
Yes.
How do you go about constructing that? What are the nuances or the maybe the legal ramifications? So I noticed that you're an LLC. So do these individuals in effect report to you, and you're
Oh,
responsible
now we
for?
work together more as a team. I guess I don't. They're not necessarily my employees. I mean, my team, like I said, I work under Signature Real Estate, so
Hmm.
my whole team is actually brokered by Signature Real Estate. So
That apparently the benefits to that team concept were obvious to you pretty early on in the process.
Yeah,
Sounds like.
yeah. Like I said, it just comes a little bit to a time management kind of thing.
Indeed. Under what conditions would you turn down a possible new listing?
Well, I think the interviewing process on both sides. When you go meet with a someone looking to buy or sell, I think the big thing is, do your personalities fit? And can you achieve are their expectations higher than what can be achieved, or are they realistic about what a home is worth, or those kinds of things? And once again, I think a lot of it's the personality more than anything. Your personalities work well together, because the last
Sure.
thing you want to do is get in a position where you don't feel like you can talk to each other, and
Indeed. How do you measure that, if you will, compatibility? What are some of the key things that would force you to say or to rethink accepting a listing?
well, that's a good question. I mean, I think just sitting down, kind of like we're doing here, and do the personality traits, of
Sure,
each other fit? And I mean, some people a little more aggressive, I guess, personalities than
sure.
others, and just making sure that that's a
It's just
good
something
fit.
you sense.
Yeah, just
It's
more.
a feeling
Yeah.
that you get. Uh, Being a little more specific on that, once it comes time to disclosure of whatever the issues are, is that can that be a red flag to you as to whether you may say, this may not be a listing that I'm really committed to. I may need to find a way out of this.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely going to be those situations for sure that
Have you had situations where you've
luckily
turned
I
down?
haven't at this point, but I think I'm pretty easy to get along with. So
Sure. Well, so it sounds like the agent has a level or degree of finding compatibility, due diligence, for lack of a better word, of the client, as well as the client having the responsibility to make sure that the agent they're signing with is
yeah,
really,
who they feel comfortable with as well. It's
indeed,
got to be comfortable for both sides.
indeed.
Absolutely.
In Utah, uh, at least in the greater Salt Lake area, it has just been unprecedented growth. Like as you said, lack of inventory, prices are just escalating at unheard of levels. What's driving this activity?
Uh, it's been crazy, but I think a lot of it has to do with COVID. Um,
Really?
it was going leading up to it, or as COVID hit. I mean, we all got in a panic, thinking, well, no one's going to work, and the housing market's going to crash, and everything else. And
Yes.
it got real quiet for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden, my phone started blowing up, and it's. But I think people are finding out, or businesses as well, that people can work from home. Um, I would say probably 60 to 70% of the people that I sold homes to over the last couple of years, they wanted to make sure they had home offices
Hmm.
and everything else, because their employer was willing to let them work from home permanently now. So
As this concept of working from home, it appears as though it's going to be with us for a while. Has that really changed the buying patterns?
I think so. Definitely, you're seeing a huge influx of people move in from out of state. I think they want out of some of the east and west coast states that whether it's politics or
Hmm.
taxes, or just some of the craziness of the world, and they're starting to move into these smaller towns. I mean, you're seeing St. George blow up. I mean, you're really seeing all of Utah blow
Hmm.
up. I mean, Salt Lake as well, and it's just crazy how many people are moving in from out of state, and definitely I think they're the big driver in why prices have
Sure.
increased so much.
Well, given the fact that pricing has just escalated beyond most expectation, big demand, interest rates currently, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, but interest rates currently at a pretty reasonable level. Would you say this is generally the series of events generally good for the market?
I mean, For the most part, I think
For
it's
some.
good. I mean, yeah, for some, people that own homes and are selling, obviously it's good. It's a little rougher when they try and go get back into something.
Indeed.
But it definitely seems to be hurting the first time home buyer quite a bit. I'm currently working with one that we put in 12 offers so far and haven't gotten anything.
12 offers?
But he's working on a lot tighter budget and whatnot.
Sure.
He's FHA lending, and so there's some requirements there with inspections, and he doesn't have a lot of money to come
Sure.
in with an offer that's way over asking price.
I understand.
Where a lot of these people are waiving appraisals and they've got money in their pocket. Unfortunately, the first time home buyers kind of competing with the investor out there as well.
Sure.
An investor comes in with cash that can pay $350,000 and close in a couple weeks versus a first-time home buyer that's got to go through inspections and appraisals and financing and all that, and so that's why they're losing out.
For the most part, are the majority of homes selling over listing price? Just as a general statement?
I would say, yeah. Any more listing price is kind of their starting price.
Just kind of the starting price, sure. How much longer can this last?
I don't know. I think it's going to go for a little while. Like you said, interest rates are still pretty low. It's the supply and demand, though. They're saying that we're roughly 15,000 homes short of what's needed in the market right now.
Is that just in the greater Salt Lake area?
So that's Utah, all of Utah, I believe.
All of Utah.
Still, it's pretty, makes inventory pretty tight.
It does indeed. When the market changes, and it will at some point, would you forecast a major decrease in pricing?
I don't know that it's going to crash. I think 2008 kind of was a whole different animal in itself. It was, a lot related to the mortgage industry more than the construction industry.
Sure.
and some of that. So, I think it'll stabilize more than probably go down. But that's just my opinion. You never know.
Sure, that's anybody's guess. The Federal Reserve recently raised interest rates by a quarter of a point. It's anticipated that they may do that again for the rest of the year, in fact.
Yeah, I've heard as many as
4,
maybe 7.
5, 6 times.
Yeah.
What do you think this is going to do to the market?
I don't know if it's going to slow it a ton. It might a little bit. Unfortunately, I think you go back to the first-time home buyer, kind of takes them even a little bit more out of the market when they're, barely getting in with the interest rates. Obviously at historic lows in the
Sure.
in the 2s and 3s there for a while. So every time they bump that up, I think that's really more who you're taking out of the market. The guy out there buying $1 million plus dollar home, probably doesn't change him too much. He's either still paying cash or got the money that he can still finance it.
Well, for that part of the market, which is somewhere between 75 and 80% that have to finance their home, is there an inverse relationship? As interest rates go up, is it generally accepted that the price of the homes will go down?
You'd like to think so, but I don't know that that's going to happen just because of construction costs have gone, just
true.
The craziness of COVID's effect on everything has just been nuts. Like I say, I build 2 or 3 spec homes a year, and just seeing the increases of construction costs are crazy. So I just don't know that there's that big gap that can help offset each other or not.
On the construction side, has this been a good market for contractors? Are there more contractors that are coming into the market? Are more homes being built in today's environment, which possibly could lead to an abundance, an oversupply? Is that realistic?
I that could possibly happen at some point, an oversupply, but I don't really see that happening in the foreseeable future. Right now, there's obviously tons of home builders out there, but they can't build them fast enough to even keep up with the market right now.
Yeah. If interest rates continue to increase, and I think general consensus is they will, Are we going to see underwriters, lenders change their underwriting criteria?
I wouldn't think so. Ever since kind of 2008 when things went crazy, they certainly tightened things up, and I think they've kept them fairly tight since then, just because they got caught in such a bad situation
Mm-hmm.
back then.
So would you say that today's market is fundamentally stronger than what we were in the 2008 period? So that if we do see some changes,
Yeah, I think the
they
market
won't be as
can
devastating.
absorb it a lot better now than it could then. Just kind of two different situations.
Sure. Well, obviously, you feel good about the market, or you wouldn't be building spec homes. That's an indication that, given your insight, that you feel relatively good about the market. Could I ask you to look down the road a year or 2 years and tell me what you see?
uh, I mean, this what I'm reading at this point. I mean, they really expect things to continue at least through 2025. Um, you know, you still wonder how much inflation and some of those things could play a part in things as we
Sure.
keep getting further down the road. I mean, if they keep interest rates, going up slightly, on top of the craziness of inflation right now, at some point it's got to slow down something. I would
Everything that
think.
goes up has to come down
Yeah.
at some point. Well, Troy, we only have time for a couple of more questions, but kind of changing direction here. How has technology changed your business over the last few years?
A lot of the technology was probably there as I got into the business, but I can say it's definitely changed the business over
Mm-hmm.
the years. I mean, between obviously going a ways back, the internet, DocuSign, uh, the phone apps now. I mean, I can stop anywhere and pull up a house that's for sale on my cell phone. Um, to social media. I mean, for advertising, everything else. It's definitely changed the world and
Mm-hmm.
probably made it a lot easier for people in the
For whom?
industry now
Okay,
than back before all that stuff was
sure.
around.
Would you say that you in particular, or agents in general, are spending less time and driving fewer miles today in terms of showing homes, whereas the potential buyer can just pop open their computer and look at,
Oh yeah,
at
no,
a
it's
dozen
it's
homes in
yeah, they can
3 minutes?
definitely go look at things. Well, I mean, they're saying the by the time someone actually reaches out to an agent on the buyer side, that they've probably already been looking at homes for 3, 4, 5 months on the internet. You know, kind of seeing what's out
Sure.
there before they actually reach out to someone.
Are buyers better prepared in the sense that they're closer to knowing what they want?
I think so. I think they have more of an idea of where what they want and where they want it and that kind of stuff
Sure.
for sure. The big thing's always making sure that they get pre-qualified, so you
Indeed, of course.
so you we're making sure we're looking at things that fit their budgets.
Are there two or three specific tech tools that you have gravitated to that you feel has made your life a little easier?
Um, I mean, obviously the cell phone apps are great. Because you're on the go all the time. Real easy to pull up houses. It's easy to work on the go, I guess.
Sure.
Cloud CMA's been real good. I like that a lot. Um, when you're pulling comps on the houses and in the area, pulls up a nice report.
Hmm.
Seems very user friendly to me versus some of the other ones out there.
If a new agent comes to you just out of school, they just have their license, what advice would you give them?
Um, that it takes a while to grow your business. I mean, even myself coming from a different industry, it still takes a while for people to, I guess, see you as an agent and then feel like you know what you're doing and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Um, but be determined. You got to be self motivated because if not, it'll definitely chew you up fast.
Hmm.
And it's a business that's easy to, you know, unless you are on a team where there's someone, making sure you're staying on task, it's real easy to, get up and go play that day if you want,
Sure.
and not go to work.
Kind of back to that self-discipline issue.
Absolutely, yeah. And but it's a great business. It's not for everyone, obviously, but if you like real estate, you like development, and you can work through it and find your niche in the whole thing.
Sure.
It can be a very rewarding and lucrative business.
Indeed. Well, Troy, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your advice and counsel today. We wish you well. That concludes this episode of Stringham Real Estate Edge. Today's program was brought to you by Stringham Schools, educating real estate professionals since 1989. Visit stringhamschools.com to learn more. We want to thank today's guests, and don't forget to tell us what you think in the comments section below. I'm Garry Barnes, and I'll see you on the next episode of Stringham Real Estate Edge.